Welcome, welcome. I'm Ann Weiser Cornell, and this is Support for Stressful Times. Let's pause together right now and take a moment to sense, how are you right now? So nice to see you. And many people are facing a lot of stress these days. New stress. Yeah, in some places it's really confusing. Are we opening up or not? We opened up, now we're closing down. Other places, maybe we're beginning to open up, but are we safe? Are we with others who've been vaccinated? These are the outer questions that bring stress and uncertainty. And then the inner questions like, how am I? Yeah, what's changing in my life? What am I facing? What am I dealing with? I wanted to talk to you a little today about inner critics, about being kind to ourselves. Let's talk about being kind to ourselves. Yay. Yeah, I started a minute ago asking you, how are you? So pausing, sensing, being aware, letting awareness come to your body. That's always my number one recommendation. To pause, slow down, and feel ourselves here. How am I? How am I right now? Letting yourself arrive in your body. And so many of us are doing can get in the way of pausing and just being. And maybe this time we spend together can be a time when we have a little being here together. And feeling your throat and chest and stomach especially. How are you doing in there? Throat, tight or relaxed? Chest, stomach, how are we doing? And I notice that as I ask myself, how am I doing? A deeper breath arises. How are you doing? And how are you being kind to yourself these days? Are you being kind to yourself? And one thing I really love to do is put a hand on my heart. Do you want to try that? I can't see you. Nobody can see you, so we won't know. But try putting a hand on your chest, roughly where your heart is. I love this gesture. I feel like when I put my hand here, I'm being kind. I'm reminding myself to be kind. And with my hand, I'm saying to myself, hello, my dear. Just say that to yourself. Hello, my dear. Or how would you like to speak to yourself? Hello. Hello there. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is in the world that you are. You're saying a kind greeting to yourself. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, May is writing, I feel as a cloud around my mind and body. Yeah, good for you for noticing that, May. Feeling a cloud around the mind and body. Mm-hmm. And David writes, hi, David. David writes, I'm finding it difficult to be kind to myself. The inner critic is very intrusive. What's your inner critic saying or doing? That's why I wanted to talk about kindness to ourselves today, because many of us are the most unkind to ourselves. Comparing myself to others, doubting my abilities. You won't be able to do that. Also doubting, being anxious about what's going to happen in the future. What kind of thing does that inner critic say or do? Sometimes inner critics don't talk to us, but they squeeze us, right? So I have this constriction in my throat whenever I feel like I want to speak up for myself. So let's talk about being kind to yourself. George is writing, overscheduling is something that makes it hard to be kind. And Susan writes, it's hard to be kind when I'm very anxious. That's right. Okay, David is answering my question. What is the inner critic saying? It's remembering failures from my whole life. Oh, David. And one after another, it's like my whole life is flashing before me, but only the failures. I know that is so painful. All right. Well, we're going to talk now about the inner critics that tell you all your failures and anxiety, being anxious. Because to tell you the truth, the answer to both of them is the same. It's very similar. So as we continue to be kind to ourselves and feel what that's like, we're also noticing what makes that hard to do. When a part of us is anxious, that can really get in the way of being able to be present with ourselves, present with others, able to sense what our life is needing from us right now. You know, when I'm calm and I'm steady and I'm present to myself, sometimes in the day, a person will flash into my mind and I think, oh, I wonder how that person is doing. I'll reach out. Oh, I'm so glad to hear from you. How did you know? See, I get intuitive hits like that if I'm calm, if I'm kind to myself. Obviously, that makes it easier to be kind to others as well. So what do I do with the feelings of anxiety that get so strong that they get in the way of me simply being present to my own knowing, to my own life, to what needs me here and now? And who hasn't been feeling some anxiety lately and over the last more than a year? And anxiety is kind of an abstract word, anxiety. So I like to change the language so that it becomes more concrete, more specific, more tangible. The way I like to change the language is by saying something in me is feeling anxious right now. Something in me is feeling anxious right now. And when you do that, try if you feel any anxiety, try saying something in me is feeling anxious right now. And see whether you can feel that much difference. Because when we say something in me is feeling anxious right now, we're reminding ourselves that it's not all of us. And then we're going to say that an inner critic is anxious. Just take my word for it. I think you'll find that it's true. But let's start with the assumption that anything that's criticizing is doing it because it is anxious. That part of you that's criticizing is anxious. Now, we'll take Monica as an example. Monica writes in the chat, there's a painful tension in my chest, something telling me I'm not doing enough. It's never enough. Oh, that does sound painful. So I love how you use the word something telling me I'm not doing enough. Now, let's take some time to sense if the something that says you're not doing enough is actually anxious. It's saying it because it's anxious. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. It's anxious. And that may take a moment even to get in touch with. Right? These are the pushing critics. You're not doing enough. You can't rest. You can't take this time for yourself. Do more, do more. Very good. Very good. And that's what we're doing. So if you feel anxiety, you're going to say something feels anxious. And I'm saying hello to something in me feeling anxious. Then I bring a deep breath. That's right. Yeah. And if you have an inner critic, you say, something is saying I'm not doing enough, or something is saying I've have all these failures all my life. And I'm sensing maybe it's anxious. Maybe it's saying that or showing me those things because it's anxious. Maybe. Maybe. But even raising that possibility, maybe it's anxious, is giving us a little space. The process that I'm drawing from is a process called inner relationship focusing. So our emphasis is on an inner relationship between all of me and something in me. And the language we can use carries or supports that inner relationship. So try starting a sentence with the words, I am sensing. I am sensing. And then following that with, I am sensing. Well, what are you sensing? Are you sensing enjoyable feelings? Hey, that would be nice. That's a very kind thing to do for yourself, to pause and sense enjoyable feelings. Had a good week, feeling kind of settled, looking forward to something, happy to be here with some other people who have similar worldviews. Might feel kind of good. Let's pause and enjoy that. That's a very kind thing to do. So I am sensing good, enjoyable feelings, good feelings, happy feelings. Great. And by the way, whenever you pause and sense what feels good, you are building your resources. You're building your resilience. You're building your ability to be present, even in stressful times. So we have our sentence, I am sensing, but what if what I'm sensing is not something that feels good? It feels painful or constricted or heavy or sad, or like a cloud, like a dark cloud, like a mist, like a numbness. Then we're going to say, I am sensing something in me. Something in me feels tight. Something in me feels heavy. Something in me feels sad. Something in me feels anxious. I am sensing something in me feels anxious. So we have the I and the something in one sentence. It's very cool. Next, and I am saying hello to that. I'm sensing something in me feels anxious, and I am saying hello to that. And if it's an inner critic, we'll add one more step. I'll take Agnes, who just wrote in the chat. You can't see it, but she wrote it to me. I'm sensing something in me that wants me to be perfect. So I am sensing something in me wants me to be perfect. And I am saying, maybe you are worried. Maybe you're feeling anxious or worried. I like worried is another word for anxious, but it's calmer. So if we want to help our inner critics to stay calm, maybe we want to say to them, worried instead of anxious. So something in me wants me to be perfect, and I'm saying to it, maybe you're worried about what would happen if I'm not perfect. And that's an invitation to that part of you to sense in itself what it's worried about if you're not perfect. And that will take you a little deeper into self-awareness and what's behind these critical pushing words. And that leaves you in the position of listener. So in a relationship, I am with something and I am the listener. My position is empathic. I feel a tightness in my chest. I'm staying with it to sense what gets it so tight. That's the empathic position. It's another version of being kind to ourselves. Yeah. So David, with all the list of failures that a part of him shows him, David, you may want to say to the part that shows you the failures, might you be worried about me failing again? It's just my guess. Just my guess. There's something that part is worried about if these failures continue. And you are the listener. One of the things we want to say about speaking to what we feel inside is that we don't approve or disapprove. We don't agree or disagree. We don't evaluate. That's called radical acceptance of everything. Whatever comes inside of us is doing its best. It's trying to help. That's a radical idea, isn't it? That's why I call it radical acceptance. Everything inside you is trying to help you, but some of those things are maybe not helping in the way that would be most effective. But that's all right. We can do it. Della writes, problems are not being solved, no breakthroughs to issues in my life, overwhelmed and caught in a prison of no escape. Della, that sounds really hard. I'm so sorry you're having to go through that, and I'm sure you're not the only one facing something that feels that immovable. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because these nice things I'm saying need to also be helpful at least a little bit when something hard in life feels so complete. Caught in a prison of no escape. That sounds really hard. So what I would have you do then is say, I'm sensing a big feeling of being overwhelmed and caught in a prison of no escape. Noticing if those words describe it well. There's actually something that can happen just because we've described something very bad as it is. We're not trying to look away. We're not trying to make it light. This is really how bad it feels. You're putting it into words and you're acknowledging it. Yes, I hear you. Like you're saying to yourself, yes, I hear you. That is really how bad it's feeling. Now, something in you wants probably to escape from that. And if many somethings are trying to find solutions to that. And we can acknowledge those as well. Here's the funny thing, though, about solutions. what I've found is that until we really face and acknowledge what it feels like exactly, all the solutions we come up with don't work because they're not from that place of directly sensing how it is. And just solutions of distracting ourselves and finding things that work for other people, good advice we've heard from somewhere. I know I'm one of those who's giving good advice too. But say to the place in you that feels so overwhelmed and in a prison that you really get, that's how bad it feels. And let that settle. Because it's when we can sit with the truth in ourselves. Now, let me add, nobody knows the future. So if somebody says, so a part of you says, there never will be any escape. We don't know that. That's its worry. Something is worried. There will never be an escape. But it feels right now in a prison with no escape. Yes, that's how it feels. So the distinction between acknowledging how it feels now, but understanding that anything that is trying to predict the future, I will never get loose. It will never be better. That is an anxious part that needs us to say, hello, I sense you're worried that it will never get better. So today, we have about 5 more minutes, and I'm just going to review what I've said today and also take another peek at the chat. We've talked about being kind to yourself. We've talked about letting a gentle hand go to your heart, or maybe another part of your body needs a gentle hand. That's fine too. And we've talked about any feeling, and we especially talked about anxiety today. We can say, I'm sensing something in me feeling anxious, for example. And I'm going to say hello to that. We talked about inner critics, which are parts of us that are anxious, and how we can even include a critical part of us in our compassion, our kindness, by saying, might you be worried about something when you say that? Yeah. So Andrea writes, I'm sensing something in me that's afraid of the anxious and fearful parts. Good for you, Andrea. You got in touch with something true and real. So here I am saying, can you say hello to the anxious, fearful parts? And Andrea says, I'm sensing something in me that's afraid of the anxious and critical parts. So you would turn to that. You would say hello to the something in you that's afraid of those other parts of you. And anywhere in us, there's everything in us is all connected to everything else, right? So anywhere in us where we give kindness and gentle listening, it spreads out to the whole system. If I can't be kind to this one because I'm scared of it, oh, it's something in me that's scared of it, I can be kind to that one. And it spreads into the whole system. Elvira asks, what about when your inner critic doesn't allow you to believe in yourself? So you would say, I'm sensing something in me that doesn't want me to believe in myself. And I'm sensing that it must be very worried about something. So that system is a way of not believing the inner critic. It believes that I shouldn't believe in myself. As soon as I say that's what it believes, it doesn't want me to believe in myself, then I am not that. I'm also not the one it's talking to. I'm more. I'm the listener. I'm the compassionate space. Susie writes, I'm wondering if my lack of interest in listening to others stems back to my fear of listening to myself. Whoa. Hey, I love that insight. And guess what? Something in you is feeling fear of listening to yourself. And we can be with the something that has fear of listening to yourself. We don't have to make it stop being afraid. I love this. We never have to make our feelings change. The good news is that we never have to make our feelings change because we couldn't do that anyway. Have you ever tried to make your feelings change? But what we can do is be compassionate to something in us that has those feelings, and then we change, not the feelings. That's right. Yes, we're sitting together with the truth of who we are today. And isn't it nice to be together here? Feeling that we are here together, not just you alone. It's lovely to be with you today. Yeah, very sweet. Very nice. Well, we're going to say bye-bye today. See you again in 2 weeks. So lovely. Keep up the good work of inner kindness to yourself. Nice to be with you today. Take care. Yay. Yay. Thank you so much. Bye for now.